First story. My wife had an emotional affair with a male vocalist. My wife confessed it when I pushed her to be open and tell me why she was acting very strange. She was projecting what she was doing on me. We got to know each other 6 years before D-Day, due to all my traveling for work, which it wasn't that much for 5 years. But when I moved companies and got a great raise in money, almost double, she was aware I'll be traveling more often and for longer periods. She told me to take the job as it would help us to buy the house wanted and pay for good education for our kid. Fast forward 9 months after I took the offer, she asked me to allow her to take a course for music composition. It was okay at the beginning as the class was imparted by a man and a lady. But a few weeks later, the lady was pulled out of the class as a request from that guy. He started to flirt with my wife, and it took several classes for her to open to him about our relationship, which wasn't great thanks to all the traveling and the stress that caused. It was an EA for basically 2 months, building up little by little. I would not notice much as I was out most of the time, but my gut told me something was wrong 2 weeks before D-Day. The guy asked my wife to help him to sing for a commercial ad campaign as he loved her voice. I told my wife not to do it and in fact stopped going, as she disclosed that same day the lost classes were private, the lady not being around. But she went anyways. I had no way to track her back then. They made out. They were undressing each other, and when she touched his erection she snapped out of it. He was like a pencil. Her words. Wife confessed a week later when I was tired of the attitudes she was giving me, she thinking I was cheating on her. I never did. Not even when I had the opportunity after the confession with a coworker and a client that were flirting on me. I let her know that I was more than angry with her, disappointed, sad, betrayed, fuming, and I had the desire to get back at her. But that I knew that if I went ahead, marriage would be over for a fact. First 2 years were very tough and raw. A lot of hysterical bonding, but a lot of screaming matches. She cut contact with AP, but it took her like 2 weeks from some back and forth of my wife telling him it was wrong from her to tell him about us, to accept to be alone with him, and for him not being professional using the class time to flirt with her. He never apologized. He actually told him to leave and start anew with him, that he would be a better husband than me. Before we got married, I told my wife that if she cheated on my marriage would be over, but I didn't, just because of our kid. The 2 first years after D-Day were far from recovery time. She didn't want couples counseling out of shame. I was super stressed working freelance as I lost that job that had me traveling. We got into debt. 2 things happened that helped us and for me to really see a change in her. For 6 months she was threatening me with divorce when we had an argument, and of course not taking accountability on what she did that had us here. So I had enough and got an appointment for MC and took her there, and I told her, if this does not work, then we'll get a divorce. She accepted, and during all the questioning they made her realize that, besides the screaming matches, I was the one that was doing all the lifting in the relationship and changed on those things she wanted me to be better, and that she was wrong and was never sincere on her apologies as she put the blame in me, not her. She left the meeting very shaken. 1 week later, she tried to make me the bad guy again by telling 2 female friends we have in common about what happened. They roasted her. From there I got a deep and sincere apology, and she stopped all the drama that started the fights. While we were spiraling in debt, she didn't leave. My freelance business died and now I had a crappy job. She didn't leave and helped to get us into a good spot again, supporting the family with her job. There I knew my wife was back. 2 horrible years, 2 other that were with many ups and downs, 4 year total. I had her back. But this version was better and not the one always complaining, but now working hard and really sacrificing for the family. Fast forward 6 years later after this, things are in a great place. She got to understand that there would be moments that I would be reminded of what we went through, but she has been forgiven, and I'm not leaving. But That does not mean I forgot what had happened, and we both have to stay vigilant and always working in our marriage. She knows by my actions that I don't have in me a cheater, but she is the one that is easier to be persuaded into that. So, she avoids bitter divorced friends, avoids staying alone with another man. Now she talks when she is worried about something instead of internalizing things. Adi is constantly asking for advice to married successful women on how to be a good wife and mother. Also, I went into a health scare. She was there at the hospital by my side all she could. As we have more children now, and she had to ask my parents and my in-laws to take care of them. I underwent 3 surgeries in less than a month. She was there for all of them and after them. I'm normal again. Almost 10 years after D-Day we are still together, really behaving like we are one, and thriving. The bumps we find in the road are just part of life, nothing related to the cheating. But my wife is aware. She has to show me I can trust her every time there is a chance to take a bad decision. I don't know if we still need counseling. I see and MC, at least now I don't have to make a decision now. About my WW's AP, he is married, his wife was informed. And I heard back they're divorced few year ago. Just get off chests, best wishes. Second story. After 8 months of looking and being convinced I was crazy, I finally found out. I really need some help and support. I thought something was off with my wife in December. I wondered if she was starting to spend time with someone else. I was sure she did something with someone in January, but I wasn't sure how bad. As her behavior continued, I tried to talk to her. I tried to reason. I got mad and screamed about what I was seeing that looked like an affair. She told me I was wrong, told me all the reasons she wouldn't, and how great I was, so why would she go somewhere else? I had no evidence and I wasn't trying to find any. I just wanted her to act normal again. But perimenopause can be a mfer, and I assumed maybe it was hormones. I believed this was my fault, that I was looking for something, and connecting dots that didn't need to be connected. It just kept getting worse, so I decided to take action. I overheard her talking to a coworker about what they had done and what they still wanted to do together. She referenced his wife and he mentioned my kids. She invited him on a trip out of town. It made me sick. I haven't slept or ate. But now I need more, better evidence for court. She needs to be caught? So while I wait to hire a PI, I just have to sit here, acting like nothing has changed, like my whole life hasn't changed. I watch her with my kids and feel so sad. I know I am about to devastate their lives and I can't prepare them. I look at her face and hear her voice, and just think of what she said to him. I want to confront her. I want this to be over. I don't have anywhere to go yet. I don't have an attorney, or know the PI I will hire. I found out late on a Thursday night and nobody is open on the weekends. When she picks up her phone, I think she's texting him. When she leaves the house, I think she's going to see him. Everything inside of me is trying to stop her, but it's already happened. It's too late, and I have to do right by myself and the kids. I worry most about my crying. Sometimes I can't fight it and run off like I've got the shit. We are months away from our 25th anniversary. None of this feels real. I keep hoping she'll come down the stairs and say she's sorry. This isn't the first time she's done something like this, so I know she isn't. Can anybody say anything that could help? I don't know who AP is yet. I need to find out. His wife deserves to know too. That is all part of needing to wait. Also, I don't have anywhere to go. This is the issue. Seems like you have to pay for a PI and tell them when to look. But if I knew when it was going to happen, I wouldn't need them at all. I'm pretty confused on the way a PI would work. I have requested a consultation with a law firm this week. Maybe they will recommend something other than waiting for proof. Maybe they have ways to get it. I have a buddy I talk to, he's been great. I have a therapist, but she's on vacation. I talk to both of them on the phone. I wish I could sit with a real person just for a bit. I wish I could get a hug. I feel so lonely. I feel like I'm keeping a secret from my kids. I have so much sadness and anger to get out. I don't know how I'm going to keep this up. I am in a fault state. It doesn't matter much, but it keeps from everything being divided evenly. This was not an even relationship. The crying and negotiating will be difficult to avoid, but those are 2/5 of the grief stages, so I guess it's expected. I was planning a life without her before I found out. I asked our divorce where I should move with my kids just days before I found out. The lying was too much, everything she said was dishonest. I hoped her dishonesty was something else. I knew I was leaving, but I hadn't given up the hope of coming back. I am sure that's what'll happen, and I will never be prepared for that. I have evidence that was found by invading her privacy. When she finds out what I have, the only thing she will talk about is how I invaded her privacy, and how it's those actions that make her act out. I won't give her privacy so she fucks a dude she works with. In my defense, I did warn her many times that I was gonna look, and it was way after she started with this guy. She knows my career was in finding things people didn't want found. I told her that she had to stop acting like she was cheating cause I felt like I was going back to work. This is helpful. My wife makes about 6 times my taxable income. I am the primary caregiver of the children. I do everything for the kids and house, so I should get the bulk of the custody. I don't think I'd end up in a situation to pay alimony. If anything, she will owe me. All this sneaky stupid bullshit is to make sure me and the kids get ours. I don't want any of her shit or her money, but I own a house that has nothing to do with her, and it's the only place I can afford to live with my kids. I live in a fault divorce state. It is more painful than I expected, but I guess it's easier than most people's because I always kinda knew. Yes, I'm in a fault state. I believe the evidence will lead to better terms. I think once my attorney can show proof, then I will get what I want. She has everything to lose. She could get fired. AP could get fired. The embarrassment at work would be too much. AP will lose his wife. She will lose her husband and at least half of the time with her kids. She could owe child and spousal support. She will be left with nothing. Or we can be fair. She won't be fair unless she knows she could lose it all. I'm not looking for reasons to divorce her. I have a reason. Also, can't just block and move on from a 25-year marriage with young kids involved. I live in a fault divorce state, so the faulted person can get a little better treatment. Because I paid for everything I have and everything she has, I want better treatment. She can keep her shit, but I want to be able to walk away with all of my things. One of those things is a house for me and my kids. She admitted to an EA about 15 years ago. In the past few years I've thought she was cheating many times. I catch her lying a lot, but I've never looked for or found proof. So when I say I was already on my way out, what I am saying is after months of fighting and years of distance and avoidance, I've recently realized we are a textbook narcissist empath relationship. The lying was too much and I was convincing myself to go. My therapist was strongly nudging me out the door. I had told everyone close to me I would leave, but I didn't want to, because narcissist empath. We are textbook. I am distraught because I thought I would leave and would later realize she was just being an asshole because of perimenopause, but then she got therapy and then we got back together. I love her. I will always love her. Because narcissist empath. We are textbook. 25 years of marriage is a badge of honor. Even if there was one EA that was forgiven, every other thing that looked like cheating was me being anxious, or her needing space. It was always my fault that I thought she was cheating. Because narcissist empath. But now it's real. I heard it. I heard her voice say it. And after 25 years, hearing it has got me pretty fucking distraught. I am an empath with BPD traits. This is my biggest fear. I have never been more afraid of how I feel right now, because I'm not living anymore. Now I am being abandoned. I am sure that's what'll happen, and I will never be prepared for that. I have evidence that was found by invading her privacy. When she finds out what I have, The only thing she will talk about is how I invaded her privacy, and how it's those actions that make her act out. I won't give her privacy so she fucks a dude she works with. In my defense, I did warn her many times that I was gonna look. And it was way after she started with this guy. She knows my career was in finding things people didn't want found. I told her that she had to stop acting like she was cheating cause I felt like I was going back to work. Third story. Wife has been cheating like it's a sport. New here, just discovered a house of lies I could have never been prepared for. Had been feeling like my wife had shifted some of her energy elsewhere for a few years now. Sex life dwindled, but so did some of the basic affection we always shared. Long story short, a few months ago, I began to grow more and more curious about whether my wife had someone else in her life. My wife has a senior position at her company, and we spend a majority of our time together with mutual friends and family outside of work. She goes to work and comes home for the most part. Sure, a few late meetings here and there, but that is to be expected and has always been the case. If it were not for gut feelings and small changes in levels of affection overall bond, I could have never suspected anything. That said, this feeling grew and I just had to know. I went to the length of obtaining some recordings of her at work. I felt crazy for doing this and I am not proud of it by any means. Well, ask and you shall receive. Shocking, sexually oriented conversations about conquests with men she has worked with and others met through work activities. Bragging really, and with the full support and laughter of 3 or 4 women in her office. My wife presents herself as a family-oriented, conservative-minded person to all who know her, outside of work, I guess. This was almost unbelievable. We have been together for 22 years and married for 12. We have a beautiful younger daughter and 2 adult children. We travel together. My family loves her. Everything we own is mutual. Just so much vested in us, our whole lives. After confronting her, it got worse. Total gaslighting and alienation from friends and family. She denies it all and says I need mental help. As a grown man in my mid-40s, I can say that I am completely alone. The exception is 1 or 2 close family members, but all live far away. She disputes the contents of any audio files, even though she has not listened to any of them. Most recently, she even started meeting a good friend of mine in the middle of her workday and having sex with him. It all goes from bad to worse. If I did not have this evidence, I would believe her. I wanted to believe her. The audio files are not great and I am no professional at cleaning them up. I know what I hear, but she wants me to prove her wrong, and once I fail, she wants me to get mental help. Anyone particularly skilled at working with audio files and possibly transcribing? Even some of it clean to be more audible to others, or someone else confirming they hear what I hear would be huge at this point. It feels like she is slowly winning at convincing me I am out of my mind. Thanks all. I do not know the legality of the recordings, but did have to know the truth. Well, got it. With an 8-year-old daughter and most of the money we have outside of 401ks in our family home's equity, it is all a lot to begin to unravel. I likely cannot prove infidelity in a court of law at this point. The requirements seem rather stringent. I have been told that a person with these types of narcissistic traits will not stop, so I have thought about a private investigator. Wish I would have kept my mouth shut for a while, but emotions got the best of me, and I never saw the gaslighting coming. I am not staying in a relationship with her, never again. Just trying to avoid starting a legal battle that costs us untold amounts of cash and ruins any chance to be civil for our child. Fourth story. Did I emotionally cheat? I find one of my co-workers attractive. I think he's cute or whatever and like his personality, but I have married. He goes out of his way to interact with me, but I usually try to keep to myself. I don't go out of my way to interact with him. I'm not sure if he's flirting with me or if he just has a super friendly personality. He makes a lot of jokes, and when he talks to me it's super awkward. I don't really like it. The other day he bought me a cookie at Chick-fil-A and kind of just left it at my register. He didn't even say anything. Today I did the same thing. I bought him a cookie and kind of just smacked it down at his register and didn't say anything, trying to be a little silly. I didn't want to just buy him a cookie though because I thought it would be weird, so I bought two other coworkers a cookie. He came up to me later on and went to give me a fist bump but changed his hand to a handshake. I don't know, it was really odd. He tried fist bumping me again and when I made my hand a fist, he grabbed it and pretended it was a gear shift. He held my hand for an awkwardly long time. It was weird and I didn't like it. After my shift ended, I think I went out of my way to go to his register for him to check my stuff out. Customer service was open but with one customer. I could have easily avoided him and waited in line there. I got pins with my hubby face on them, which I wear every day, so people know I'm in a relationship. I also shaved my eyebrows so I'd appear more unattractive. I feel horrible about interacting with this coworker because I find him attractive. I just don't want to interact with him at all. I feel like maybe I try to appear more attractive when I'm around him. I don't know, I feel so awful. I think I'm going to quit my job but it pays well and I get good hours. I feel so sick and horrible. I want to tell my husband but it's not a good idea. I'm scared that I have a crush on my coworker or something. Sometimes I imagine conversations between us in my head, but once I realize I tell my brain to stop, I want to throw up.